everybody, Phil Killian here with Killian Beef. It's Thursday night, just finished loading up the freezer with some of the best beef I've ever produced. I'm pretty dadgum proud and excited about it. I'm excited for you guys to get it. Pretty wore out. It's a pretty dang good workout unloading boxes of beef. I do it every week. I live out at the ranch. Come into town on Thursdays, go pick up beef, sell on Fridays and Saturdays, and go back home again. Well, the reason I'm making this video is I've got some news. As many of you know that have been our customers for a while, we sell our beef here on my family's farm, where we have the beef shop in this barn here. Got our freezer, sales counter and everything right here. And behind the farm is the feedlot where I feed my cattle that are what become Killian beef. And the issue is my family has decided to sell this property, this farm. So that's a problem for me. I understand why they're selling it. I don't hold any hard feelings against them for it. It's just kind of tough for me. This is my childhood home. It's where I grew up. But, you know, it is what it is. So I've got some things to figure out. So in order for what I've got to figure out to make sense to everyone, let me kind of explain how this all works, Killian beef. Farm here, it's been in my family for about 100 years. My great-grandpa, Ray Killian, he moved over from the Safford area where my ranch is. He moved here in the 20s, and he bought this property, and he planted some citrus groves around here, and he built the feed yard. It's a very different and special kind of feed yard, and I'll talk a little more about that here in a sec. But going back further in time, my great-great-grandpa, William Ellsworth, who would be my great-grandpa Ray Killian's father-in-law, because he married Jessie Ellsworth, William's daughter. So great-great-grandpa William Ellsworth bought the Hackberry 111 ranch, part of it in the late 1890s and another part of it in the 1920s. So that ranch has been in the family for 5-6 generations, both directly and indirectly. In 2010, my family bought the ranch from my grandpa's cousins, the Ellsworths. I moved down there. I was at a ranch my family had in New Mexico before that, so I moved down there, and I love that ranch. It's just a phenomenal ranch. Anytime it rains, it grows feed. It's beautiful. It's challenging. It's a big chunk of country. It takes a lot of work to maintain it, but it's a great ranch. Continuing on with the history there, back in 2020, when all the pandemic and all that mess hit, and with all the meat shortages and packing houses closing down and the grocery stores running out of beef, the place that harvests my steers, they were closed down for a little bit, but they were able to open back up, and we were able to crank out a lot of beef, and we had long lines, and we were handing out cow ear tags for numbers, and it was a crazy deal. But years ago, my grandpa had written up a deal as an option for me to purchase the ranch from the family, and I always just kind of kept it tucked away and thought, you know, I'm never going to come up with the money to be able to do that. With all that panic buying deal going on, that kind of was a big time game changer for me and allowed me to come up with the money to make a down payment on the ranch. So I bought the ranch from my family in November of 2020, and it's just been a dream come true, and that's all thanks to you guys for buying our beef. I can't thank you enough, and it means the world to me that you are willing to come here. It's not very convenient. I mean, all we sell is beef. We don't sell other groceries or anything, so just thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing that. It kept the ranching legacy alive in my family, all because of you. So back to the issue of my family selling the farm here. The reason why it's a big problem for the future of Killian beef is, as I had mentioned, this is where I feed my cattle. So I raise those cattle on the ranch. I have very specific breeds of cattle. I buy bulls from my dad that he's been working on his breeding program for years that really emphasizes on marbling and tenderness. And for me and my cow herd out there, I've got to just have a tough as nails cow that can survive the harsh conditions that the Chihuahuan Desert offers. So it took a lot of figuring out, but we finally came up with the right cattle to get the job done and to create a superior product. But one of the big pieces of the puzzle is our feedlot here. So when you think of a feedlot, there's a lot of buzzwords associated with that: CAFOs, confined animal feeding operations. And when the word feedlot comes up, what comes to mind is the large feeding operations like you'd see in the Midwest, where there's just miles of corrals jam-packed full of cattle, concrete feed bunk, feed truck comes by, drops off the feed. Well, we have that here at an extremely small scale. We have the feed bunks that we put out the feed for the cattle. We mix feed every day. I came up with a very specialized mix that took a lot of figuring out, and results, we get the marbling and the tenderness, both with the genetics of the cattle and that special feed that I've come up with. But what makes our feedlot different from a conventional feedlot is each feed pen has an irrigated pasture attached so that the cattle can get out of the feedlot and out into grass. So when it's cold and wet and raining and muddy, those cattle can get out of the mud, bed down in the grass, prevents them from getting sick, prevents them from getting stressed, keeps them eating, just keeps them happy and healthy. And healthy, happy cows are tasty cows. So, and here in Mesa, we're very fortunate to have incredible weather where we can grow green grass year round, whether it be ryegrass in the wintertime or Bermuda grass in the summer. Another thing that does for the cattle is they can actually eat that grass year round. And as many of you know, with grass-fed beef, you get a darker, richer color and a gamier taste to it. So we kind of get a touch of that gamey taste and a little bit of that darker color without sacrificing the marbling and tenderness you get from conventional beef. With that said, we don't use implants or growth hormones. We don't have to use fed-through antibiotics or anything because, like I had mentioned, the cattle just don't get sick with having those pastures. So we create a healthy, natural product that has that gamey, well, but gamier than conventional beef flavor, great color, great marbling, great flavor, great texture, great taste. Because of this feeding operation here, it kind of gives us a unique product. So the question is, with my family selling this property, how do I recreate that out at my ranch, out there at the Hackberry Ranch? Well, I can weld. I've built a lot of corrals over my life, more than I would like to. I can do that again. That's not a problem. I have some concrete feed bunks I can put together. The challenge and the issue is, how do I create those pastures that I can keep grass growing in? I have some ideas and I have some options available to me to do that. It's totally within the realm of possibilities. It's just going to take time to build that and to get that all figured out. Another challenge is the commodities that go into the feed mix are a little bit more expensive out there than they are here, so that's a challenge too, but again, not out of the realm of possibilities. With that said, I am going to have to close down again. I don't know when the closing date or whatever is going to happen here, but what I don't want to do is bring cattle in from the ranch, get them going along real nice and smooth, then have to uproot them, move them. It's not good for the cattle. It's kind of a logistical nightmare to have to kind of figure that out. So here we had a window with cattle that I've had ready. I weaned some cattle out at the ranch in November, and normally I would have them here. They would be growing and be getting ready pretty soon to into our production, but with the farm selling here being up in the air, I just didn't want to bring those cattle in. And more than likely, I'll be selling those cattle just on the traditional market so that I can kind of come up with some money for materials to build what we would need to build out there. And again, I'm just at the initial phases of planning and figuring all this out. It might not be doable, it might be. I don't know, and that's why the future is kind of uncertain for Killian beef. Obviously, I'm still going to be raising cattle. I just don't know if I'm going to get back to the point where I sell beef like I'm doing here in this shop now. It's been real nice just having it right here, and you have a place where you can buy beef and look around the corner and the cattle are right there. So obviously I'm not going to be able to replicate that. There's a number of different things we could do. I've had a lot of people approach me about them selling my beef, and I could focus more on what I love, and that's raising and producing the cattle. There's 100 different ways we could do it. We're looking at all our options and trying to figure out what's best for my family and best for you, our customers. And I can't thank you enough for buying our beef. One of the best parts of my job is to have that interaction with you guys and get that feedback. And when someone tells me, man, that was the best steak I've ever had, that means the world to me. All the work that goes in to get that beef in that package, not only by me and my family, but everyone involved, the guys that cut and package the beef and everything. There's a lot of work that goes into it. I think it's important for people to have that connection to where they get their food from. We will keep everyone up to date with what we've got going on. We'll keep our social media going. As far as for right now, I've picked up this beef for this week, and I have beef for every weekend for the rest of the month, possibly into March. That first weekend, we'll see how things go, but after that I don't have any cattle ready or coming up. Hopefully we can figure it out and we can keep getting Killian beef to you, our customers. So thanks again. We'll see you tomorrow on Friday and Saturday and the next few weekends, but after that we'll be closed. So it's just the way it goes. We'll figure it out. Thanks again.